afternoon and welcome to the Midday News on 3FM. My name is Beatrice Adu. The news is also live on Kesme 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Interministerial Committee holds crucial meeting over the alleged marriage of an underage girl to the Bobo Wolomo of the Nungwa traditional area. We'll bring you all the details. Also, President Akufo-Addo direct voter authority to stop the export of electricity to neighboring countries immediately and redirect the power for domestic consumption. And much later, academic activities at pre-tertiary institutions picking up gradually following suspension of a 2-week strike by teacher unions over unfair labor practices. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's start off from the power sector, where we understand that President Akufo-Addo has directed the voter authority to stop the export of electricity to neighboring countries immediately and redirect the power for domestic consumption. The directive comes in the wake of the ongoing intermittent power outages. Power supply in the country has been very erratic in the past 3 weeks, with the situation not abating. Chairman of the Energy Committee of Parliament, Samuel Atachia, has joined us on the phone with some more. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon.
So we know the current arrangement that allows the power sector to export energy to neighboring countries is as a result of bilateral agreement. Can the president just direct that we stop?
Well, the president has the nation at heart. Bear in mind, for a good 7 years, we've never had this challenge before. It is a record. Now, we have a very short period of time that if we are not careful, because of the power outages, it might even change the record of 7 years. You know our memory as a people. We enjoyed doing so for 3 years. But now, the few challenges are like hell for everybody. Why not? The president is the commander-in-chief of the Ghana, and everything that should be done in the realm should be tailored to the benefit of the nation. So if it is become imperative that let's withhold power supply by way of export to Togo and then the Ivory Coast so that we retain the power for domestic use, I think it's a very safe argument to make that he's thinking about Ghana. It might have, if you like, consequences. But what is the consequence of the generality of Ghanaians and the bashing he might receive?
Mr. Atachia, so the explanation you're giving is that should we take it that the VRA or any other power institution should be receiving directive from the presidency?
Certainly. Why not? I mean, it's like where we are, and if for a brief moment of time curtail the export, let's use what we were supplying for domestic use until it should normalize. It's a very sound argument to make. And I'm sure nobody will fight it. It will be very sad that we are having challenges, but because of money, some other countries are enjoying what we are exporting.
The understanding again is that this directive has been received. When is it expected to take effect?
Well, that is one of the reasons why we want to interrogate the stakeholders in the value chain on Saturday. And some of these things we are going to look at it critically. The Committee on Mines and Energy are meeting all the stakeholders, and some of these things will come to the fore.
We also do know that this arrangement, you remember that this issue came up after the CEO of Independent Power Generators Ghana, IPGG, Dr. Elik Blim Kwabla Petogbo, said that actually asked the VRA to stop exporting. And VRA came out with a strong worded statement saying that the CEO was misleading people and went ahead to say that there has been an arrangement where the VRA exports power to neighboring countries since 1972. What happens to that agreement?
Well, whatever it is, and whatever understanding anybody is having concerning the matter, the president doesn't want the nation to go through any power crisis. That's my understanding of it. And I share his heartbeat. Contracts are intended for you to make some money. So if the money that you want to make should be, suspended for a while, it doesn't mean that's the end of you. But the nation should not suffer as a result of you trying to satisfy some foreign need in return for money.
Mr. Tachia, briefly, to what extent should we expect the power situation to improve with this directive coming through?
Give me maybe Monday. I'll be able to tell you where we are going with this situation, because you see, I don't want to talk out of ignorance. That is why all the stakeholders will meet us Saturday, and then we'll be able to talk in concrete terms and in truth. I've said it, and I'll continue to say that I don't believe anybody should play politics with what we are going through.
I don't believe that anybody should play politics with what you are going through. I want you to hold the line there, because I want to pick the thought of your opponent, Edward Barr, who is MP for Bongo and member of the Energy Committee as well. Good afternoon to you, sir. Thank you for joining us on the Midday News on 3FM.
Good afternoon.
You heard Atachia there. He says the president has directed VRA to stop exporting power to neighboring countries whilst the country is suffering. This should be good news for you, even on the minority side.
So thank you very much. First of all, let me say good afternoon to my chairman. I do not have the slightest of doubt that what he's saying is purely based on the information that has been given to him. But let's interrogate the issues. You see, if you take, for example, our power export to Côte d'Ivoire, it is a power exchange agreement. And usually, there are times that we necessarily will have to export power to Côte d'Ivoire to stabilize our network. And so part of the exchange is for operational purposes. And not just by virtue of the fact that Côte d'Ivoire has a problem, and therefore we want to give them, because there are certain times that we actually get power from Côte d'Ivoire just to be able to stabilize our system. So even though the president may say that do not export, just to be able to keep our system working and so that it doesn't collapse, sometimes we need to have, because our networks, particularly with Côte d'Ivoire, are interconnected. And so the power exchange sometimes is not because of deficit of power in any of the countries, but it's just to be able to stabilize the network. So that is the first aspect. The second aspect is that you have a contractual agreement with the other neighboring countries. And therefore, you will also have to meet the minimum requirements, or else there are liabilities that you will face. And so the country will have to make a decision, a judgment call, as to whether we are ready to pick up those liabilities. Because if I have a contract is that, at least, for example, let's say Togo, that you supply me 50 megawatts of power every day, and that in turn I pay you X amount of money, and you do not do it, there is no contract that will not have situations where one person does not fulfill the contract.
Mr. Boa,
there will always be liabilities. So that's the second. No, I'm just giving you just the facts as they are, because we have gone through this before, even as a country. The last but not the least, and Mr. Honorable Atachia is aware of it. Currently, the only reason why VRA is able to even pay its workers, as compared to, say, Gridco and we, who have to rely on bank overdrafts to pay their workers, is just because of the fact that VRA has an opportunity to at least get a few foreign exchange from these neighboring countries just to keep them afloat, so that they can also meet their operational costs to generate power for you. Because remember, VRA alone contribute about 40% of the total amount of power we get. So if VRA's operational cost is not met, it even makes the case even worse. Because if VRA is not able to produce power, it leads to even a higher deficit than what we export. And so the government will want to see the reasoning behind these things and then interrogate them. But I'm just giving you, just on the face of it, that these are the potential pitfalls that we may be going into.
So, Mr. Bauer, if I get your argument, you don't see this directive, as it were, from the presidency materializing. That's what you're saying?
I didn't say that. I'm just interrogating, that's what I said, I'm just interrogating what the facts are, based on just what I've heard from Honorable Atachia. And I said I don't have the slightest reason to doubt him. All I'm saying is that, for example, if you take the issue of our export to Côte d'Ivoire, it is operational. And sometimes it is to let our own network stabilize. 2, the issue of liabilities that are occasioned as a result of not meeting your contractual agreement. And 3, the fact that VRA seriously needs this export, the inflows from this export to be able to meet its operational what do you call it, cost. Because if you look at the Price Waterhouse mechanism, since August up till today, VRA has not received 1 cedi. So can you imagine that if VRA is not exporting to get money from that, they cannot even meet the operational cost. So I'm just looking at just what has been said on the face of it, and to say that I can see potential pitfalls.
Mr. Bao, I'll come to you very shortly to get your thoughts on your expectations actually on Saturday. But Mr. Atachia, you have the floor. I want to find out your thoughts on this input from your opponent, the Edward Bauer.
Yeah, he's being very honest, and we also understand the full implications of trying to affect an operational understanding within the other country, reciprocity and the rest of it, contractual obligations and the rest of it. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say that the nations will suffer and then people complain bitterly about it. Then some contractual obligations are met. So we are in a crisis situation in which some of these, strong decisions should be made. But it will normalize. Then you can have your exports. It's not going to be a permanent trouble. So this is, if you like, a relief we need to bring us to normalcy. And that is fine. Because if you have a situation in which there is an emergency situation, then you don't look at some of the little sacrifices you should make. It is a sacrifice. I don't believe that the whole financial empire of BRI will come at us if this thing is, dealt with for a while.
Thank you very much. We'll have to end it here with you, Chairman of the Energy Committee of Parliament, Samuel Atachia. Edward Bauer, I'm giving you 30 seconds just to tell us your expectations of that engagement Atachia talked about, which is expected to happen on Saturday.
It is not going to solve the problem, because if you look at the total exports that we do since we started having this crisis, it's roughly around, so it takes about 150, so roughly about 200 megawatts that are being exported. As at yesterday, we were shedding about 700 megawatts. And so just 200 is just a scratch on the surface. And so I'm just saying that it is not going to resolve our problem. The only way we can resolve the problem is that Akufo-Addo and his government must look for money for the generating powers companies to generate power. That's all.
We'll have to end it here. Edward Bauer, MP for Bongo and member of the Energy Committee. Thank you so much for speaking to us. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. When we come back, we'll bring you that story that is generating a lot of controversy about the Wolomo of Nungwa marrying a supposed 12-year-old. Stay with us. We'll bring you all the angles.
Freezer, get the abba. Adama for the abba. A freezer. Adama, a crap Adama, Metimoso, my sorry. Canino, over Moasia. I do fresh the Nobium Unum and San last 9. I don't know what we did. Adama for Adrian Craft, who said, yet the Adroba Cope, a ship we be a high technology. I could for freezer. When Kwan, and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what's ya, no fugum. What the boss here, if we be any of us, you, equity self, over Timono. Then we sure say. Mention Tassia. No Masena for Nano, freezer, Umpa and up a day, freezer.
Tassia, a person does so among Amoniaji.
To me, Miwasika, to me, but you may not do a some doom. Adama, with that Adama, no queer. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream, or baby bear a tongue cry on who you. I say, Kayona Kinkai in Choya, a dream.
You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. Thank you for staying. Now, it's a matter which has generated widespread condemnation over the past 4 days. That's the alleged marriage of a 12-year-old girl to Bobo Wolomo of Nungwa, Numo Bokite Lawetru, the 33rd. Na Yomo Ayemwade has been in the care of older women known as godmothers for 6 years, preparing her for adulthood as a queen. This afternoon, we understand that the Ministries of Gender, Children and Social Protection Commission, Chieftaincy, Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Interior Ministry are meeting over the issue. The Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice earlier directed the Criminal Investigation Department, CID, of the Ghana Police Service to conduct an investigation into the incident. According to the AG's office, the outcome of the investigation will enable the office to take further action on the matter. Already, we know that the police service has moved in to safeguard the safety of the child involved. In a statement on Tuesday, April 2, the police said they had placed the girl and her mother under police protection. Meanwhile, a former Justice of the Supreme Court, Yao Appel, says the act is in violation of the rights of the child and should be dealt with as such.
I heard from the president of the Ghana Adangbe Council, Lawyer Ayikwe Otu, and he said it was not a marriage, it was a betrothal. And betrothals are allowed in customary things because if you are not 18 and above, you cannot be married. So if it was real marriage, then what happened was a criminality, it was wrong. But they say it was a betrothal, and they have some cultures, they need some people to perform certain functions at the fetish night. So if it's a betrothal and the man is not going to have conjugal rights at that thing, then I don't know. I don't see anything wrong. It should be clarified for us to know the type of culture the Ghans are having. We have cultural differences. Let's take it that maybe it's Ghana custom, and or we can test it in the course. Tradition and law are intertwined because we have customary laws. We have customary laws as part of our common law. So if the customary law of the Ghans supports this betrothal, not really marriage, then it is permissible. But if it is marriage, then it goes against the Children's Act, and it's wrong. Maybe the law must take its course. But Ayikwe is a lawyer, and he has come out to explain certain things. I respect him as a lawyer. He's a good lawyer. It's too early, to cast stones.
You heard the Yao Appel. He is a former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. Crosby Annan is a former Justice, actually, of the Supreme Court. Yao Appel, you heard him there. Crosby Annan is monitoring the interministerial meeting for us. He joins us live on the line. Crosby, what can you report?
Well, Beatrice, we understand that the meeting is currently ongoing where the Gender Ministry, the Chieftaincy Ministry, as well as the Interior Ministry, plus the Attorney General are all in this meeting finding the way forward and the best way to deal with this issue. Now, the three ministries are involved and they're playing very different roles, all to one goal, of course. But if you know why the Interior Ministry is there, because this is a matter that the police service has been tasked to investigate by the Attorney General. So the police is there, represented by the Interior Ministry. The Gender Ministry is there because of the lady in question, the young girl in question, less than 18 years. The age is from 12 to 16, now to 13, now to 16. So that is why the Gender Ministry is there, because this lady is underage. Now, the Chieftaincy Ministry is also there because this is a matter that is relating to traditions, to chieftaincy-related matters, and all of that. So they are there to find an amicable solution to bring to a peaceful end, as well as some possible sanctions if there is a need for this issue all to come to a natural conclusion with the appropriate sanctions meted out to all those who may be deserving of some sanctions one way or the other. So the meeting, we understand, is ongoing as we speak.
Thank you very much, Noble Crosby Annan, for bringing us updates there, and keep your dials here. We'll be bringing you the latest from that meeting currently ongoing. Members of three tertiary teachers unions, Ghana National Association of Teachers, NAT, the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, and the Coalition of Concerned Teachers, Ghana, today resumed teaching after the unions on Tuesday called off their strike. The three unions 2 weeks ago declared a strike over what they described as poor conditions of service. The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and the National Labour Commission declared the strike illegal, with the National Labour Commission subsequently securing an ex-parte injunction to halt the action. On Tuesday, April 2, the unions called off their strike, urging authorities to take swift action to resolve their concerns. Let's cross over now to our reporters from across the country. But first, we start off from one of my colleagues in Ashanti region, Ibrahim Abubakar, who's been monitoring situations for us. Ibrahim, teaching insertion at schools where you've been?
Yes, almost all the teachers are in school, in almost all the schools that I visited. You know, the basic schools were supposed to start their end of term examination yesterday, but because of the strike, it was postponed. So, and today, some of the headmasters were looking to see whether all the students will make it so that the end of term examination will begin. But unfortunately, it appears some parents or some students have not heard of the suspension of the strike, so they are not in school. So what the headmasters have done is that they have pushed the exams to tomorrow. So from tomorrow, Thursday, the end of term examination will begin in almost all the schools that I visited here in Kumasi, so that hopefully by next week they will be done and go on vacation. But as I speak to you, teaching and learning has begun.
Thank you very much. Ibrahim Abubakar reporting live from the Ashanti region. Castro Senyala is our man in the Upper East region. He joins us live on the line as well. Castro, what can you report from where you are?
Yep. So academic activities in most of the schools in the Upper East region are picking up gradually, with teachers returning to classrooms and students being assisted to revise their notes ahead of an examination in the next few days. We understand that though teachers are back, the attendance in terms of students coming to school is very low, and they are hoping that by tomorrow, word will spread quickly for students to begin to come to school.
Thank you very much, Castro Senyala. He is a man in the Upper East region reporting live on the latest as regards the teachers resuming classes after calling off the strike. Now, Chairman of the Election Management Committee of the Judiciary, Justice Paul Bafubuni, has backed the proposal for general elections to be conducted on November 7 in election years. This, he says, will give the judiciary ample time to adjudicate all election petitions at the presidential and parliamentary levels before the swearing in on the 7th of January. He noted that the proposal is not plausible, but it should be considered going forward. Justice Bafubuni has been addressing a forum organized by the Peace Council on the adjudication of parliamentary election petitions. Duke Mesopoku is monitoring events for us. He'll be joining us very shortly to bring us details. But ahead of that, it's about 8 months to the country's general election, and already the NDC and the MPP are battling it out. They both want to capture votes, especially in the determinant regions. One of such is the Ashanti region, which has long been seen as the voting headquarters of the MPP. The Chief of Staff, Afrima Opare, recently affirmed that the Ashanti region will still deliver massive votes to the MPP. But Betty Modi Drisu, a former Attorney General with the opposition NDC, disagrees. She says that the tables have turned in favor of the NDC. Listen.
I am on the grounds. It's what I know. It's what I see. It's what I'm part of. And you know that even though my late dad was a Ghana man, my mother was Ashanti, so my area of politics is in the Ashanti region, and there's been a dramatic turnaround in the favor of NDC because they've seen how they're living, and they've realized that one village, one dam, one road, one constituency, one this, one, they've realized that it's just talk and that it was never implemented. They've realized that it was the NDC that actually came in to do the transformative works that you see in Ashanti region. They've realized that John Dramani Mahama was set up to be vilified. And they've also realized that, hey, things have not turned out the way we wanted them, even though they gave the current president the power to the vote. They gave it to the current president.
The Chief of Staff doesn't think so. She recently said that she knows Ashanti would deliver votes for the MPP.
My sister, I also know that Ashanti will deliver votes to the NDC. We are both sisters in that regard, so we are on the same track.
You heard the former Attorney General Betty Mode Idris. When speaking of elections in the Ashanti region, 8 people have so far picked nomination forms ahead of the NPP parliamentary primaries for the vacant Ejiso constituency seat. Mami Abuaje is the latest to pick as a potential woman candidate, shooting the tally to 4. William Evans Inkom is there for us. He'll be joining us very shortly. I'm sure you're aware why the MPP is organizing elections in Ejiso or in that constituency. It follows the passing of former Deputy Finance Minister John Kuma, who died last month, and the party opened nominations yesterday. A number of people, as at afternoon yesterday, over 18 people have picked nomination forms to contest in that parliamentary primary. Later, we had confirmations from the chairman of the party in that region, Bernard Enchi Boesiako, popularly known as Chairman Wuntumi, telling us that some of the people who had expressed interest had bowed out, and as we're learning now, 8 people confirmed, with a woman joining the race, Mamiya Abuaje. Like I said, Evans William Inkum is there. He's monitoring events for us. We'll be speaking to him very shortly to give us the mood and indeed what's happening in the Ejiso constituency. You're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. Stay with us. And you're still here on the Midday News on 3FM. We'll be bringing you more of these stories, the Election Management Committee of the Judiciary, and also what's happening in the Ashanti region. But let's wrap up by going to the north, where we understand one person has died following a rainstorm in the Savannah region. Christopher Amwako joins us on the line with the latest. Christopher, what can you tell us?
Yes, so yesterday in the late hours, there was a rainstorm at Yipala in the Sola Tuna Kauba district of the Savannah region, where several houses were ripped off and one person unfortunately dying out of the rainstorm. As we speak, the body has been laid to rest as a result of yesterday's incident, and in line with Islamic custom. And the people are counting their losses, even though NADMO is yet to give us a full report as to how many houses and individuals have been affected.
Yes, can you tell us, yes, NADMO is yet to give the figure, but so far, based on what you're picking from the ground, what's the impact of the storm in addition to the person who's died?
Yes, almost the entire community has been affected. Several houses in the community have been affected. So we are talking about hundreds of people in the Yepala community who have been affected by this rainstorm.
Thank you very much, Christopher Amwako, bringing us an update of that sad incident. One person dying in the Savannah region following a rainstorm, and hundreds there displaced, as you heard him there. That's how we end the news here on 3FM. Our top stories: Interministerial Committee holds crucial meeting over the alleged marriage of an underage girl to the Wolomo of the Nungwa traditional area. Also, President Akufo-Addo directs VRA to stop the export of electricity to neighboring countries immediately and redirect the power for domestic consumption. We brought you analysis on that, plus academic activities at pre-tertiary institutions picking up gradually following suspension of a 2-week strike by teacher unions over unfair labor practices. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you very much for joining us today. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Good afternoon.
Adama for the aba a freezer. Adama, a quick was a mensia. Adamo, Adama, Beatrice Adu, sorry. Canino, Obo Moasia. I do for no be a munum and san last nine. I tell what we did was here. Adam of what you have from what we say. Yet you drew back up a ship we be a high technology. I could for freezer back. When Kwan and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what ya no fugum. What the boss here, if we be any of what you have, I could say, over Timono. Then we sure say, woman shown task here. Then what's enough for now? Freezer, power up a day. Freezer,
Basia, a basso dosso among Ammoniaji.
To me, me was sick, to me, but you may not do some doom. Adama, without Adama, no queer. Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream, or baby bear a tongue cry on you. I say, Kayone Kinkai in Choya, a dream.
3FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Business Daily on 3FM 92.7. Coming up, Securities and Exchange Commission gives Cowbank, Casapreco, and 4 others April 30 deadline to submit 2023 financial result to the Ghana Stock Exchange. Locked Up Investment Holders Forum demand payment of their funds. Ivory Coast hints of increasing its cocoa producer price by 50% to address smuggling. What does this mean for Ghana?
A serious economic crisis as compared to Cote d'Ivoire. But it is business, you know. If we invest
I'm Eben Ejekumbuate, and to our first story, the regulator of Ghana's capital market, the Securities and Exchange Commission, has issued a 1-month ultimatum to 6 companies listed on the local bus to submit their financial results for the year ended 2023. This is per a statement issued by the Ghana Stock Exchange on April 2, 2024. The 1-month ultimatum is an extension of the stipulated 3-month period granted to companies by the SEC to file their financial results to the GSE. The 6 companies given 1-month ultimatum are Cowbank, Casapreco, Elsa PLC, Dachi Trust PLC, Camelot Ghana PLC, and Kleinstein Ghana PLC. Members of the Locked Up Investment Forum has called on government to pay their funds. Their investments have been locked up with some financial houses and savings and loans institutions following banking sector reforms. Meanwhile, Acting Chief Executive Officer of Deluxe Finance, Joe Jackson, has urged the government to come up with a clear-cut measure to resolve and pay funds of members of the Locked Up Investment Fund Forum. He suggests that restructuring these investments, potentially involving haircuts, might be a necessary step towards resolving the situation. Joe Jackson was speaking on Business Focus.
This has been an issue that's been outstanding for quite some time. The institutions involved have been unable to pay their investors or depositors. Even though they've been declared insolvent, their licenses haven't been withdrawn. And it's a gray area in which, unfortunately, we haven't confronted as well as we should. All of us feel the pain of the depositors who can't get their money. And it's good that they are confronting the central bank, they are confronting the Ministry of Finance and asking us to deal with this issue. It must be dealt with. We must come out with a definitive solution of what we're going to do. Unfortunately, I suspect that it may involve some level of a haircut for the investors, at least to deal with the interest they've earned over some time. But I'm sure that given the set of circumstances, they would rather get a haircut than lose their money altogether.
To our next story, and this one will interest every Ghanaian. Ivory Coast has hinted of increasing its cocoa producer price by 50%. This is to check smuggling of the beans. Edward Kariwe is the General Secretary of GAU, and he explains what this means to Ghana.
Cocoa, for their farmers, it is left to them to do. It is a sovereign right to do so. So if Ghana also wants to take advantage, then we have to also increase our producer price. And I think that we must be able to do that. There's no doubt that Ghana is going through a serious economic crisis as compared to Cote d'Ivoire. But it is business, If we invest in increasing cocoa price and ensuring that farmers, sell to Ghana Cocoa Board, and then we are also able to reduce the smuggling to its barest level, then of course we can have enough cocoa to take advantage of the well market price. So I think that we also have to do same, in the sense that Ghana government should see it as an investment, very lucrative investment, to raise the price up and then increase our surveillance on our borders to stop the smuggling, and then also to motivate the farmers not to engage in the smuggling, and then so that we can have the beans and take advantage of the global market price.
Finally, let's look. The National Petroleum Authority's recent decision to set a price cap for fuel product has ignited controversy. The National Petroleum Authority, NPA, reportedly intends to stop some oil marketing companies from selling fuel at excessively low prices. However, the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy argues this policy contradicts the existing deregulation policy for the petroleum sector in the country. This suggests a clash between potentially stabilizing fuel prices and upholding the principles of the deregulated market.
Deregulation generally allows market forces, demand and supply, to determine prices, fostering competition and potentially lower prices for consumers. Price controls are government-mandated minimum or maximum prices set for specific goods and services. Price controls are put in place to manage the affordability of goods and services on the market. Minimums are called price floors, while maximums are called price ceiling. The price cap or price floor by the NPA might disincentivize OMCs from offering competitive prices. Policy lead for petroleum and conventional energy at the Africa Center for Energy Policy, Kujo Yauche, says the policy could lead to higher prices at the pumps.
If you suspect, then you should go and check it and ensure that you root out people who are selling bad products instead of setting arbitrary price controls within a deregulated market. We really have to get into the business of allowing businesses to run and allowing regulators to regulate the space properly.
OMCs might be forced to cut corners on quality of services to maintain profit margins under the price cap. Director at the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Nsia, laments the price cap has the potential of collapsing some of the oil marketing companies.
This is likely going to affect a lot of consumers, especially consumers who have budgeted a particular amount per every month to buy certain volumes. Having a price floor means that consumers will have to increase their expenditure towards buying petroleum products, and that is very, very bad in that sense. Now, the second part is that I think this particular price floor is also going to collapse some oil marketing companies.
And this is where we end today's edition of Business Daily on 3FM. I'm Eben Ajekumbuati, and we'll see you later in the evening with business news on Hot Edition.